So this time I don't care at all about AJ's thoughts on the thumbnail. All I care about is Jon's thoughts on the thumbnail. Dude, anytime I search for a developer and the first picture that pops up is a VR headset on their face, I'm like, that's pretty awesome. It's a good picture, Jon.
It's taken. Got a story about that as well. It's a Quest 2. It was taken at a Oculus content creator event in London. I got an embarrassing story that
Why do I feel like there's going to be a lot of embarrassing stories today?
No, I can't share them all. I was with Mike, VR Oasis Mike that night, sat down chewing the fat with beer. There was stories.
Stories.
And then stories.
And then stories. ... All right, guys, let's start the show. This is PSVR GamesCast Live, where we film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube. If you don't like watching our faces, man, if you want to just listen to our amazingly deep and resonating voices, you can always go over to all sorts of streaming services. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, do whatever you want, man. But as long as you're hanging out, that's all we care about. My name's Brian Paul from this channel right here, and these gentlemen to my right, we got AJ from the Underground, and sorry for the short introduction this time, but we also got special guest right here in the middle, Jon Hibbins, CEO of SciTech Games, creator of Windlands 2, which is coming to PlayStation VR after a minor delay this Friday. How's it going, Jon?
Right. Let's see.
What? Physical edition through Perp Games.
What?
Short copy.
He's gonna be giving that out to somebody in the chat. No, he's not.
It's sealed. I could give this copy to somebody in the chat. I don't know whether it's US or Europe. Only that would be the only caveat there. But how about we give this copy to somebody in the chat?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
This actual one, I will grab a pen during the show, sign it so that it looks legit that it came from me, and we'll give this one away. How about that?
That is pretty awesome. We got Josh PSVR in the chat with the $10 tip. Says super hyped for Windlands 2. Welcome to PSVR without Parole, Jon Hibbins. Look at that. What a nice warm reception you've gotten already, Jon.
It's lovely.
Most
Honestly,
developers
it's a pleasure to be here. I love being on anything to do with VR. I'll apologise up front about wobbling on about everything and anything to do with VR for the rest of the evening, but I'm excited to be here.
You've come to the right place.
You've been on for 4 minutes, Jon, and you're already the most exciting part of the show, so don't worry, talk as much as you want. We also got Grizzly Bear King with the $10 tip, says take my money. That's also what he said during his last tip, and so thank you very much. We will happily take your money. We appreciate you and love you. Thanks for watching.
Now, we've now got into a big problem, though. We're giving away a sealed copy of this. There you go. Well, I've got Sharpie.
There we go.
It's legit.
Yes.
I don't know how to do this. Should we unseal it to do the signing, or shall I just sign on here?
That's a good question.
There you go.
Yeah, I feel like somebody wins it.
I've signed it something there, right? Okay, so...
I feel like if somebody wins it from you and you've signed it, I feel like you don't want to open that up and play.
You can't open it now because I've signed it on the sealed bit, so it's like you can't open it now. That's that. But or you could open it, play it, keep the plastic.
Just buy the digital. It's available digital.
It's a bit hard, but we better come up with a way of giving it away now, haven't we?
Yeah,
I know what that is.
You just have to pick somebody at random, man, because when I do giveaways, it takes like weeks to even pick winners, and then I've got 5 copies.
You got to discuss it with the legal team and have all the underwriting terms and conditions exposed and stuff. Yeah, everything. We're right. We've really dug ourselves a big hole here.
Yeah, that's the great part about without Parole, man.
We'll just give it away. Just give it away.
Legal team over here. I love it.
At some point, right at the end of the show, so everybody has to stay till the end. But yeah.
That's true. That's a good idea, man. You gotta stick around if you want to win. Darth Vader, the Game Cat with the $10 tip, says, hello, friends. Can't wait to swing around like Spider-Man in VR. I hope you're all having an amazing evening. Thank you, Darth Vader. We can't wait for you to swing around with friends in VR as well, like Spider-Man. I also get J Meow with the $5 tip, says, are you excited for PSVR 2, or is the single wire going to put you off from buying one? AAA VR is cool, but honestly, shitty games wireless is the future.
That is such
a troll comment. I love it. Jay, we were definitely going to talk about PSVR 2 a little bit later in the show, and maybe John will have a little bit of insight for us as well. But that being said, guys, I think we should probably get the show started. We have a ton of news to talk about, starting with the amazing news that, because AJ said it wouldn't happen, it did happen, and that's the news that the Dollhouse finally came to Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion on PlayStation 4. It came out today, and unlike the Steam version, guys, you don't have to pay for it. It's just a free update. John, how excited are you about the Dollhouse update for Spooky's Jumpscare Mansion?
I love horror things. One of my favorite things. I play every Wednesday. I play Phasmophobia. 4 of us get together. Me, my daughter, and one of my really, really good friends and his sister every Wednesday, and we've done that for nearly 2 years now. So it's been a staple diet of our social experience is scaring the hell out of each other on a Wednesday night. So yeah, no, I've played lots of stuff. You know, Affected the Manor is one of my favourites. I can't play Alien Isolation. That terrifies me. Just a little bit too far into realism because I love the movies, and facing the aliens just a bit too much for me. Gosh, it's a shame. I've actually stood next to the guy that runs that studio once in a queue for a meal. It's an event. Poor guy, I really laid into him about VR version of that. It was like, I did my best, but unfortunately it never happened. Legitimately, I've been and everything. That continues, by the way. I was at an event in London recently, and I was speaking to somebody. They're working on new things. Couldn't tell me what they were working on, but I did have a go at them then as well. So I can't, every time I speak to them, I'm like, you just missed the best game conversion you possibly could for VR. How can you look at yourself in the mirror every day?
I'm glad that there's developers out there that are encouraging other developers to add VR modes, VR support. So it's not just us fighting this battle alone, because there are endless amounts of games we want to see come to VR. And as much as it would terrify me as well, I made it about halfway through Alien Isolation. I would still, in VR, I would just be so determined I would have to complete it just because it's in VR now. So yeah, keep it up. Keep encouraging more and more.
Absolutely do. Unfortunately, that was probably a QA guy or something. I was like, but yeah, absolutely. No, whenever and with Sony really, but I think that again we're getting into this a bit early, but I think Sony's strategy really is to convert more and more of these 2-day experiences, and I'm really pleased to see that Oculus are doing the same. I've just recently finished playing Resident Evil 4 on the Quest 2. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I can't even remember playing it on 2D. It's that different again. But you know, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I completed it all the way through. It took me, I don't know how people are completing it in 9 hours. It took me 14, and I thought I was doing quite well at it, but it took me about 14 hours. And you know, it's got its. I could pick at it from a VR point of view. You know, the cutscenes are a bit jarring in some places when it takes you out of the gameplay, like when you kick a door, it cuts to a cutscreen, things like that. But generally, I think it's an amazing conversion, and the pros, like the gun interactions and the general under pressure, they've got all that timing right, and it feels like a really, really solid VR game. And you know, but I think across the board, you know, we talked about GTA already, but the next GTA San Andreas is going to come out for the Quest 2. You know, I'm pretty confident GTA 5 will end up on PlayStation VR2 and, you know, elsewhere, PC, possibly PC VR as well. I mean,
it's a headset seller. It just seems like the practical thing to do if you're trying to actually sell headsets to and capture a mainstream audience. It just seems like the logical thing to do, along with a bunch of other AAA or at least long history of well-known titles. I've always thought that using these types of games, Resident Evil 4 or games that are really popular, is the way you kind of get people you get them to instantly understand VR a little bit better, or have interest in it. When it's a game that they've never heard of or something, you have to explain what it is, and kind of give them the elevator pitch. But when you just say Resident Evil in VR, people are like, oh, and it's kind of short and simple to the point.
I think it's a brilliant strategy. But I've derailed you completely. Yes, I'm loving horrors. I did bore you.
Nice.
Yeah,
Spooky's
Phasmophobia is awesome, and they're regularly patching it. So it's just getting better and better. They've expanded the team. We used to consider ourselves professionals, but now we regularly have entire team wipes. And we still get scared. It's so what that game does better than almost any game I've played in horror world is randomness. You can never predict your evening or mind what particular, almost every evening we play it for about 2 hours, and when we do play on a Wednesday, and it's, every one of those evenings generates stories, and I think that is genius in game design, and it's something I aspire to do. Well, I aspired to do in Windlands too, but I aspire to do in all our games is create, journeys. In my case, cooperative journeys, which is my personal favourite thing to do, that create stories. And if you can go in with a bunch of friends, come out with a bunch of stories on a night out that the game facilitated, really, then it's awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, Phasmophobia is one of those where it's, obviously I've watched a ton of people play, and I'm obsessed with the thought of getting my hands on that game, and just trying not to watch any more than I've already seen, because I just want so much of it to be a surprise. And, watching this game evolve and seeing it be in early access, I'm just patiently waiting for it to, become the full game. And at that point, hopefully the focus will be, hey, we want to move this over to PSVR, or more than likely PSVR.
I hope so. I mean, they've had on their radar porting to Quest 2 for a while, so it's on there. They share their command board of their plans, so I imagine they'll want to bring it to as many platforms as possible when it's complete. It's slightly balanced at the moment, being honest. It's we're finding it harder than it perhaps should be, but it's okay. We're still enjoying it.
We had a unrelated tip from Mako XL, Canadian $5. Says, any Easter eggs, John, this is directly related to you, any Easter eggs in the original Windlands that have yet to be found?
Oh, yes, there is. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Sidetrack.
In fact, you mentioned, we were talking about Chris Haney and Space Pirate Trainer. There's a Space Pirate Trainer Easter egg in Windlands that nobody's found yet. Yeah.
That's super cool. Mako XL he's a big Windlands fan, of the first one especially.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the first one. I recently, because it's just recently been ported to the Quest. It's on App Lab now. You can go and buy it, play it on App Lab. Because of that, I had to go back in and play test a bit, which I'm pretty good at speed running it, so I'm a good tester. I can do it on the hard level and do it fairly fast. It takes me less than 20 minutes, but there are speedrunners that do it in 12. I don't know how they do it. I just don't know how they do it, but it takes me 20 minutes speed running it, so I can check the whole game works and it can be completed. So I tend to go back in there. But there are moments in the original Windlands that still make my legs wobble. There's a bit on the hard level where you climb up to the very, very highest bit, and if you fall, you're going to reset back. I mean, you just know, and so every jump really matters. So it's quite a unique game. I think it gives that sense of distance and height really well. So I'm still playing Windlands occasionally, and there's highly competitive speedrunners in that.
Not to, I don't want to go down like a Quest rabbit hole here, but I am curious why it launched on App Lab and not on the official Quest store.
I mean, I'd love it. It should be on the main store. It's one of the highest rated Quest games. Even now, it's 4.9 stars, wasn't it? It really should be on the main store. For prosperity, if nothing else. I'm not really fussed about the money or anything. That's all useful. But the fact is, for anybody that lived with it through that period, it's nice to be able to go and play it. And so ultimately, that's why we did put it out. We put it out on the App Lab to make sure that we did love it. It's brilliant, right? I mean, it's very locomotion. very, very locomotion. So, and I would say that Oculus generally don't want things that put off new players.
Gotcha.
They're trying to adopt new audience, and it's really old. So it probably does need a bit of updating around the edges, the menu systems and stuff. When I go back and play it, things have moved on a bit, and the world's matured a bit in that space. So yeah. They're the two main reasons I think it's not on the store. But I don't know if people buy it. It's not completely impossible for it to go to the main store. It would need to sell quite a lot because there are things that Oculus look at, and if something sells a lot on our App Lab, they see it as an opportunity to make money and that people really enjoy it. And so it probably needs to sell double the amount it's already sold before it starts hitting that sort of numbers. And I think eventually it will get there, but it's just the way it is.
Since we're on the topic, I do have to say, I'm extremely happy that PlayStation, like you were there at launch, PlayStation VR, right there it was, Windlands. I was like, I've never heard of this game ever. I just bought it, downloaded it, and it was one of the very few games that really said, hey, we're just gonna let you do your thing, man, and swing around and not worry too much about motion sickness. You came up with a bunch of creative solutions for creative comfort settings, but for me, I just turned all of that off. And I was like, I can't wait to see what this game does to me. And the very first time I pushed the button, that made me jump like 20 feet in the air. I was like, holy sh! It was a feeling I hadn't experienced in VR yet. Like this feeling of full locomotion, really off the rails, and then swinging around like Spider-Man. I was like, holy crap! Like these guys just really, really daring to do something like that to new PSVR gamers. And I applaud you for it, man. And it's even cooler that Sony had you right there on day one as a launch title.
Oh, I've got some stories there. But no, I appreciate that. But I want to say as well, I'm not the only person involved in this. There's Ilya, who was part of the first game jam for that. There's Soooo, who does the music for it. There's Nick Pittam, who's heavily involved in it. And there was Yanni, who did level design. There's a whole bunch of people that need to make a game like this. So I'm not the only person. Running.
All right. We're back. Sorry, so John, before we crashed, you were saying that it wasn't just you that made Windlands happen.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of us. There's Ilya, who did some of the original programming, and Simo, who did audio and the music, which is great, by the way. I sometimes listen to the soundtrack. And then Nick Pittam, who did a lot of the character design and stuff, and like the animations you see or whatever, and Yanni, who did a lot of the level design. So there was a whole team of people, but I did a lot of the programming for Windlands 2 was me. A lot of the direction for the games, the content, the levels and whatever was me working hands on. So I take some credit in Windlands, quite a lot in Windlands 2. But yeah, it was a whole team of us have to make these games.
I love how you guys stuck to your guns, and I love how the first thing you see. I can't wait to talk about Windlands too, in a little bit more in depth. Really excited for this release this week, and but I love how the first thing I saw when I booted up the game, it says, "Warning: this game has full locomotion, smooth turning, lots of swinging, lots of action, lots of jumping." And I was like, if I was ever sold on a warning screen, I was like, this is my game right here. Sold by the warning screen alone.
Well, there are a lot of people that want that. Anybody that's been doing VR for a long period of time and has their VR legs, this is liberating, right? Yeah. For amusing with Windlands 2 is that Sony make us put that up front. It's not like an optional thing. I don't mind it being there. It's good that it's there. We don't want to, some people do get. I've never, ironically, we call it VR sickness. In all of my time with tens of thousands of people I've seen literally demoed Windlands 2, I've never seen anybody actually be sick. I'm sure there's an example. Hangovers or something, but it just makes you, if you've ever had VR sickness, it makes you feel like you've been poisoned, right? You just need to lay down. It can last such a long period of time. I recognise it immediately. The last time it happened to me was Flight Simulator, because it's unoptimized, so it's jumping around. It's so realistic, you believe you're in a cockpit, and then suddenly it goes, it's like, it's just like, this is different. So it's like, it happens to people that have got very good VR legs. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong, right? But VR's got so much better nowadays. The refresh rates are better. The developers are better. The software itself is so much better. You've got all this reprojection stuff we're kicking in. I mean, it's nothing like the early days of VR, right? It's pretty good nowadays.
Nice. We got a couple more tips in the chat. We got Dave Station VR with the $2 says OBS repair fees. I don't think $2 is going to cut it, man, but thank you. We got Mark Pringlesleaf with the £5 says, can you tell us one new feature we can see in Windlands 2 that wasn't in Windlands 1?
Oh, the bow. That's easy. You've got a weapon. You've got a bow. Yeah, so Windlands 1 was very much about swinging, and if you get... it's a very easy game to play, Windlands 1, right? Grappling hook. But the wrong thing to do is sort of clamber up on top of bushes and stuff. The right thing to do, and the way that the levels are designed, is to keep the swinging momentum.
Yeah.
So it's, if you can get into that flow and keep speed, actually, and get good at when you let go and drop and so on, that's when Windlands becomes its best game. And if you were to look at a developer that especially Windlands 2, like starts off not being able to play Windlands, and by the time you've got 2 or 3 years under their belt, and the difference in the quality of their gameplay, it's a very deep game actually. The races that Windlands 2 has, Windlands 1 actually had like levels where you could start off, it was timed, and you get a time for running them, but when you get really, really, really good at racing in Windlands 2, because you can race against each other, there's highly competitive, and so new things in Windlands 2. There's lots of new things in the mechanics in Windlands 2 that are really you would have to be a professional to spot them, but we've changed the way that the gravity works and the grippiness of the floor. You can actually pull on the ropes much more. So if you, like in Windlands 1, if you did 2 ropes and sort of like pulled either side, it wouldn't make any difference. You'd just stay in the middle. There was no stretchiness to the ropes. Whereas Windlands 2, you can actually pull yourself with ropes. And also when you're moving, you can pull it. You can actually, if you've got the energy, you can pull yourself to get more out of it. So there was a lot done around that. But yeah, fundamentally the bow and the main core mechanic difference between Windlands 1 and 2 was that you sort of got this utopia moment, and I'm sure you guys have played it now. I think you both have played
it. We beat the entire game yesterday. We played it from start to finish, 7 hours.
Yeah.
Shout out to Guyson, fist bump to you, and to MRI Gamer who joined us and helped us out. Yes, it took us.
He's not saying it took us 7 hours. He's saying it took us. We played nonstop for 7 hours. We didn't take breaks. Like every so often, one of us was like, "We got to go to the bathroom. Be right back." And but we'd keep playing without it.
Shower when you caught up. Yeah, it's like
there's a warning screen at the
cool.
beginning of the game that says, this game's not to be meant to be played for more than this many minutes or whatever. And I was like, we blew past that warning about as fast as anybody's ever blew past a warning.
For 5 minutes, no, 7 hours. We'll just do it in one session.
It did say 5 minutes. That's what we thought, man. It was like 5 minutes. This game would take us 3 years to beat.
7 hours. Well, when you're new to VR, I think the recommendation's every 5 minutes. But yeah, I agree with you. Well, I mean, you will have experienced this hopefully during those 7 hours. But the real core mechanic loop, which we're very proud of, is swing, 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 bow, swing. Right, so you catch yourself.
Use the bow a lot in this game. There's a lot of action, a lot of enemy types, which is that's definitely a brand new mechanic. The other one was kind of a pure platformer, and this one definitely has a lot of combat in it, which I personally loved.
Yeah. This is.
Yeah, we're very, very happy the way that turned out. We were very nervous about it. We distilled it to what it is as well with the bow. We did have grenades at one point. I mean, you could climb walls at one point. It just slowed the game down, and it just felt like, this isn't what we're doing. We had these throwing grenades, but again, it just added these two. Anything we added was ultimately taking away from that core flow, and I think there are bits in the game that are just awesome when you get to that level of being able to play the game.
Yeah, it was such a for me, it was such an amazing moment because at the beginning I was like, how am I going to manage all of this stuff? Because we didn't, obviously we played with the Move controllers, and if you're new to PlayStation VR, the Move controllers are already an obstacle to overcome. But we've been doing this pretty much every day for 5 years, and so Move controls are 100% like second nature to us. I don't even people think I'm crazy when I'm like, oh, I'm fine without analog sticks this gen. Like I'll be mad if PSVR2 was to somehow launch an analog stick. Obviously it's going to, but like I'm totally fine with the moves. Everything works. But even getting in there and going, okay, here I am. This button grapples and this button brings up the bow, and this button it felt amazing when I finally wrapped my head around all of it and was able to swing from place to place and shoot arrows at the same time while I'm swinging from place. Once you get that down, like that just, in my book, slingshots Windlands 2 so far past Windlands 1 to me, as great of a game it was at launch. This just, absolutely a totally different experience when you get, it gives you more to master, I think.
Actually, once we nailed that, we spent a lot of time on the vertical slice, which is there's an exact bit of the game I could tell you where it is. But once we nailed the core mechanics of Windlands 2, and we'd got a test boss that was in a pretty good place, we knew the rest of the game. Then it was like build the whole thing around this. So we just built the rest of the game around that. And this bits I am super proud of in Windlands 2, and but my favourite bits are really focusing on that, and they came off really well. I think generally, I'm very proud of all that.
Yeah, you should be, because the controls I thought are actually pretty intuitive, and they feel pretty good, pretty natural, and they seem a little daunting at first because there's like a lot. But as I got going, it wasn't long until I really felt comfortable with them. But then, of course, mastering them is next. I got a question. Do you, when you were designing the control schemes, we have a lot of VR developers that, the moves can sometimes be a hurdle for them to figure out because there's no joysticks. Did you guys do any research for the best control scheme, or did you just kind of wing it, or how did you come about? Because I feel like you nailed the controls.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot on Windlands 1 because we introduced, I don't know whether you call all this, but we had to launch with just controller, because at launch they didn't have move support. It wasn't the thing. So they had to move later in the cycle to PlayStation. I don't know why, and I can't recall any of that journey right now I'm saying it, but we did patch later move support. So at the point we patched later, we were like, well, we've got the most complicated game we've got. Like, how on earth, we can't even move without a joystick, right? And so we did do a lot of research back then. In this case, we worked with a third party that helped, did almost all of those changes for us, but it's backwards and forwards. So absolutely, research. There are different layouts and stuff as well, but we were rightfully concerned because Windlands 2 does take full advantage of like index controllers and crest controllers. It's like really, without the joystick you are nobbled, but I think we got the best we could. I actually really like the implementation that's been done.
I do too. And we're picky about that thing. We're very picky about that thing. The
controller implementation is also really, really, really good. In Windlands 1, we had to use face movement to go your target, and this uses the gyroscopes, which is much better. That wasn't my idea. Again, it was third party called VR Monkey that came up with that, but in playtesting with us. But really, really happy that we got the best out of the hardware we could.
I'm sorry, did you say VR Monkey did the port?
VR Monkey did.
They are doing all the ports lately.
They are busy.
What is going on? Like, how did they get all? How did this happen? Like, did they just come to you guys, or did you go to them? I need to know.
I mean, we were. Yeah, I mean, what do you do? We've only got so much resource, and we're trying to build future stuff, right? So we work with a third party on doing some of the network level changes and various other things. VR Monkey are good guys. They've got a history of doing ports. They are getting better and better at it, and we got on with them really well, and the pricing was all right, and they're doing a lot of stuff in the VR space. I imagine we'll see even more from them.
That's great.
I really enjoyed. Yeah, I mean they're good. They're really good.
Yeah, I don't think we've been a fan of like any of their original games that they've created, but man, they do seem to be doing a great job with the ports. Everything we've played recently that they've ported, Yuki and Wraith: The Oblivion Afterlife. What was the other one? There was one other one very very recently. Tarzan was another one. Like whatever you want.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
say
shout out for them. I would use them again. I'm going to use them again. They are getting stronger. They've got a team that's growing. They are obviously learning. Even doing things like Windows 2, I'm sure has been very eye-opening for them. There was a lot of networking layer stuff in what we were doing here. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, I'm thankful they exist because I don't know whether we would have had the resource or the capability to have brought Windlands 2 at all to PSVR at this stage. It would have needed to wait even longer.
Well, I do certainly have a lot of questions about why the port took so long, but I don't want to let some of these tips get too far away from us. So apologies for the delay on the tips, guys. But we got Paradise Decay with the 2 quid says Windlands gave me my first real vertigo moment. Yeah, I think I might be there with you, man. And Cerebral Frost with the $5 tip says, "Hey John, by the way, this developer of To the Top says, how was bringing the game to PSVR for you guys? Did you run into anything in particular that stands out?" He says he's a big fan.
I do like To the Top. I've played To the Top, and I we are co-friends in not getting on to the quest. So I appreciate that he's got the same frustrations for probably the same reasons. Yeah, I mean, networking. Sony have quite a lot of restrictions around the UDP packet protocols and the systems that they can do for peer-to-peer. We don't want to run a whole bunch of servers, which is problematic, costs money, and also you have to keep all of that stuff up and running, etc. So yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff around PDP. Actually, that was the biggest delay in the whole project.
Is that, like we were saying, this game originally, I guess, came out on PCVR in, I believe, I want to say 2018, right? What was the question you had, Brian, about like the delays here? Like what? Well, I guess the question I was going to ask was, what was kind of where was the game been? We're wondering. We're really excited about it now, but I have been very curious about. Obviously, you haven't been working on the game since then on PSVR, so we're really excited about it. But I was curious about what had kind of happened in the process, what kind of delays you guys.
We started off. Well, yeah, I mean, lots of things went wrong. Is the truth. We started off with an individual doing the port, really struggled for a number of reasons. So that sort of had to stop, and we had to put more resource on it. Similar story in the second path, and luckily we did find a VR monkey to help us. There were bigger, could overcome a lot of the problems we're having. I mean, fundamentally, and I can't stress this enough, Windlands 2 was pushing PC VR to the limit. We get asked whether it's going to come to Quest 2. The technology we use in Windlands 2 for, I would call it mega meshes. They are very, very giant meshes. Windlands 1, an entire scene was about 6.5 million polygons as one single mesh, because there's so much distance view in terms of kilometers. And these things have been answered elsewhere, in giant geometry worlds and stuff, but there's this paradox actually with the amount of game objects you can draw and the amount of distance you can draw, and then you have to do LODs or you have to do entire cullings, etc. And one of the biggest, most special things about Windlands is actually you can see the entire map, right? You can stand on top of the world, see the entire map, and when you're traveling at high speed, you need to really, because you need to know, everything needs the fidelity to be able to see. Right. So we sort of, truthfully, we've created ourselves quite a complex product that if you were to look at the optimization stack and the amount of, there isn't a single garbage collection allocation. There isn't, everything's running rock steady, and it's quite complicated in terms of the visual pipeline for creating that world. We had to use very, very large product. It would take like one section of the world in Windlands 2 used to take us 28 hours to bake. So, and this is on a 32 core 64 gigabyte machine. Right. The world itself is quite complicated to do. It's not, it's and And then when you take into account an average scene as maybe 30 or 40 of those, you can see that our pipeline is quite complicated. But it does do something for the game that is very, very special. You can travel large distances at speed, but it does fight against PlayStation 4.
Well, it does run. It does run and perform really well, and I appreciate you answering that. Only because the only reason I ask is because I was 100% convinced that we weren't going to see this until PSVR 2 or the next generation of VR on PS5. I was convinced for 3 years.
And to clarify, he was still convinced of this long after you said, "Hey, it's coming this summer. Hey, we've got to release it."
I couldn't believe it. Yeah. I couldn't.
Hang on, I gave you a key and you played it last night, so I understand why you.
Until that point,
I will take that L. I will take that L gladly.
I share your want to have it in. Since day one, we've wanted to do this. We've had the app ID for it. It's just been a really, really difficult journey, honestly. And other negatives against it is that we're at end of life of hardware one, really. So my expectations are very low in terms of the amount we'll sell compared to a peak. I'm super looking forward to PlayStation VR 2, but it's been a lot of work, and I really appreciate absolutely everybody's involvement that's made this come to life, and I'm super pleased it's going to be out there. But in reality, I don't think we're going to sell that many copies. It's not a great marketplace right now. I'd be amazed if we sell more than 10,000 copies, which sounds a lot, but actually when you invested tens of thousands of pounds or many tens of thousands of pounds into to making it come to world, then that's the state of the market.
I meant that. I definitely wanted to turn that into a positive. That just really cool that you guys were able to bring it to us, and during a time like right now, trust me, we do appreciate it, and we do our best to support it.
Yeah, and I did want to see it come out to PlayStation. I'm glad we were able to fulfill the promise of getting it out. I am sorry it took so long. It was not the intention.
No apology necessary.
I would have had it out.
You can say no apology necessary, AJ. But I demand a written apology. Right? No, we are absolutely thrilled it got here, even if it took a long time. And honestly, I think I said this on GameScast a couple weeks ago, long before we knew you were going to be here. So this is not bullshit. We're not blowing smoke. I'm actually glad it got delayed, because we needed a game like this, a kind of a meaty co-op game that's going to take quite a few hours. It took us 7 hours to get through non-stop, and so
just for the main campaign too, not even all the sides.
Having touched the challenge.
Hang on a minute, you've not done the platinum trophy yet.
No, I know, for shame.
Now we'll be amazed. I'll be amazed if somebody does the platinum trophy in a hurry. I think it's going to be really hard.
Right.
Because I know that one of the tablets you have to collect, because you've got to get all 140 tablets, which there are 40 per world. How many did you collect? Maybe 20, I would imagine. 7. There you go.
No, it was about 10 per world at best, I think.
Okay, I'll tell you the formula. There's about out of the 40 in each world, 10 of them are super easy to find. Super easy. They're just visible.
We got those 10
killed
down.
Those 10.
You might have to take a bit of a journey, but they're placed in your view, right?
Yeah.
10 of them are super hard to find, really, really hard to find.
Yeah.
10 of them require stunts, so they require either big swings or drops down pits or big throws or whatever. And then sadly, the last 10 are parkour, and the parkour ones, there are no swinging points. They are usually quite tricky parkour runs, and one of them takes about 7 minutes to complete. And it's an entire section of a map dedicated to a hidden parkour thing to get one tablet. Honestly, it's quite hard to get them all. And I know that particular last one is quite difficult. So,
you lot have played your own game far too much.
Yeah, we said that while we were playing yesterday. We said this part feels like the developers have spent 500 hours with their game, and they expect that we have also spent 500 hours with their game, because this part is just we called it the Dark Souls of platformers. We were it took me 40 tries to get through one particular section.
I would make that though. There is a secret inside of me, and actually the level designer Yanni, you would not believe how many passes we did to make sections simpler and simpler and simpler. It's funny you're describing it being really hard, but we have done pass after pass making it simpler. Yanni, and there's a few bits of design in the first game you'll see from Yanni, but Yanni and I would make a Dark Souls. I love the games like Returnal and Dark Souls stuff. I would totally build a Dark Souls level difficulty game, no problem. But
I was playing this and I knew this was made by real gamers, people that love video games, and I could tell by playing that, and I love to see it. That's my kind of game right there too.
And there are loads of secrets. I mean, we talked about Easter eggs earlier. There is, there's entire sections of maps dedicated to secrets. I don't want to give any of them away. There are lots of secrets.
Well, we'll figure it out.
There are lots of secrets.
I won't figure it out because
there's a butterfly in each level, which I don't very often. Go find them. If you find them, you're doing all right. But there's also plenty of nods to different content creators and various things in the game. But yeah, you'd have to be off the beaten track. But the world's quite big and quite interesting to explore. So.
Yeah, it's huge. It obviously seems like there's one specific way to get from place to place, but like one easy way to get from place to place. Like here's the line to go from A to B. But yeah, it does seem like if you wanted to head off in that direction for a mile or so. Yeah. I fell down a random pit and I was falling for, I swear, 20 or 30 seconds. And at the very bottom, I saw somebody had written on the ground, "Why?" ? And I was like, what? Yeah. Like, who would have ever seen this? This was a random fall. It was just like such a cool little Easter egg.
You found a little Easter egg. There are lots. I am mostly that person that made that happen because, I get to a certain point in dev when we're polishing and I'm like, right, we now need to make sure there's lots of Easter eggs. But yeah, Yanni was also adding them as he went along. So he surprised me with loads of Easter eggs, right? Now, we do get the benefit. We can sort of fly around the map and zoom in. So I knew where all the Easter eggs were because I saw them develop. But yeah, when you don't have that ability, finding there are I mean, all I can do is encourage people to jump off the side of cliffs and follow parkour routes because they're all over the place.
Yeah.
Guys, real quick, let's get caught up on these tips again. We got PSVR Zest with the 5 quids that had to swing by, and support my UK devs. Congrats on getting Windlands 2 across the finish line for PSVR.
Thank you.
We also got Bell Ramio the Game Cat with the 10 euros says, "You need more to read. So here's a poem. PSVR is cool. Motion sickness is here to annoy, but not be fooled because NGVR will help and bring lots of joy." That didn't roll off the tongue, Bell. We got Nihilist Ryan, the Game Feline, with the $5 says, "Everyone buy Windlands 2 so this man can eat." I like that. And then Dave Station VR finishes it off with a $2 tip, says, "Curious if John has played the most recent Spider-Man games." Interesting.
Yeah, I have.
They competition?
I'm lucky enough to have a PlayStation 5. I didn't play for long, honestly. I can't. I mean, it's not that it was a bad game. I played is it Miles more? I traded it in at CRX. I played it for long enough to know that it's not my game. I found, and I can explicitly say what I didn't like about it. Very acutely, I felt like I wasn't in control of the fighting. Coming from a world of Returnal or Dark Souls where it's Twitch perfect. I just felt like, I'd press button and suddenly there'd be 7 Blackfoots and a kick in the face, and you're like, well, that wasn't me. So it's like, and that level of disconnection really puts me off games. So I know a lot of people really love that, and there is a lot of skill to it. I don't want to take away from that, but for me, I need to feel like I'm in control.
Yeah, I think the Batman Arkham games, I feel like, sent us sort of off in the wrong direction when it came to combat third-person games.
Hang on a minute.
Okay,
my friend Pablo works there.
Hey, listen, it was great. It was great for that game, but then every game after
he does
adopted
the
it.
Batman model, and he was involved in the Batman VR. I can't, that was really good stuff.
Still hoping we see a Batman 2 for PSVR 2.
Yeah,
I can't say anything. I mean, he said stuff. Can't give it away.
I think that tells us everything we need to know.
They keep their secrets.
Speaking of PSVR 2...
If I was them, would you make another Batman game? They've made loads. They want to be doing something new, surely.
Yeah. There's plenty of reason to.
Speaking of PSVR 2, is Windlands 2 going to work on PSVR 2?
Yeah. Yes.
You gonna make
Definitely.
You gonna make that an upcharge? It's gonna work out of the box. How are you gonna make that?
No. It'll be a patch. I imagine that the majority of PSVR games will just be upgraded. I don't. Everybody's going to be a different level of how they'll attack that, right? Some people probably will need to do significant work to do that. Others probably won't need to do very much at all. I mean, if they're a Unity game and the SDKs all are easy to upgrade and whatever, then it'll probably just work, right? They'll have to do some work around the controllers and controller models, probably do, updates there. But, I think that is a brilliant thought. Windlands 2, I know this fact. We ticked all the boxes for PlayStation 5, so Windlands can be played on the PlayStation 5. And of course, that's a big step towards that, being able to work on that hardware. So, but backwards compatibility, I don't know if this is being confirmed or whatever, it will be awesome for PSVR because fundamentally everybody can upgrade their games and there'll be a massive library. And, I feel like it's been interesting because, GTA has just done their remasters and I've seen all the controversy around that. But, it's a real big deal. Going from quite old hardware now with move controllers to something that is better than an index type scenario with eye tracking or whatever, right? It's got all this extra functionality, and that will make a big difference to old games, not just in controlling mechanisms and the way they feel, because Windlands 2 will get an upgrade when we get to joysticks, for instance, and extra discrete input and all the things that have already been talked about in terms of being similar to the PS5 dual shot controller in terms of feedback and stuff. The fact is that all of that is really awesome and will bring up higher resolutions, etc., right? And that can be nothing but good because I'm looking forward to going back and playing some of the games that I really, really enjoyed, but at higher resolutions with better controllers, right?
How much do you think PSVR 2 is going to change everything we know about VR?
A lot. I think we should temper our expectations. I think they will want to keep the costs as low as possible. So we can't go too far into magic land of all the wishes that we want.
I mean, from what they've said so far, it's already been pretty nice. I mean, we know there's the one cable. The screen, the field of view is obviously going to be upgraded. And then, of course, there's the adaptive triggers and haptic feedback in the controllers. And just that core stuff alone in combination with the PS5.
Not requiring the cameras, so it tracks itself is really, really cool, right?
Right.
There's things that aren't talked about with that I think are really, really important for VR. It enables, some games did a good job of this. I think Iron Man's supposed to be a very good example of tracking you when you're turning around in the seat, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you don't need to worry about that, and there's a lot of things that PSVR could not do, and one of the things is room scale, right? If you could clear some space in your lounge, then PSVR 2 will probably be able to do room scale. So for designers like us, you can move it, wire, even with a wire on, you'll be able to move around a little bit, right? And that's a big deal because there's lots of games, Space Pirate Arena, probably a bit more extreme, but Space Pirate Trainer that, take advantage of that. And there's loads of other games like that. So, I think that there are lots of micro decisions there that add up to big improvements in terms of from PSVR to PSVR 2 that are going to make a really big difference to the quality of the products. And that's great. That's nothing but good, right? And I am fully expecting them to release VR support on all their AAA titles, and I say all. And I've not ruled out, and again, this is like no evidence here. This isn't from an NDA or anything, but I've not ruled out the possibility of PlayStation PC being a real thing. The fact is that they've registered PlayStation PC. That's public, right? And that this is just a USB-C plug, right? So I can imagine the PlayStation 2 being pluggable into the PC at some point and being a serious PC VR headset. Why not?
Right, you can still keep the software exclusive to the console if you want to entice people to buy the console, but then you do also kind of enable the PC crowd to get in on a little bit of the action as well.
Oh yeah, but if you were Sony, would you create we know Sony and Steam have met, right? It's not secret. That was all public, right? But would you sell your headset to PC users as well if it was as good, if not better, than the Indo? Or why wouldn't you? It's just the Sony headset that was on the PC. It's like a great idea from, again, complete rumor mill that. But I am imagining a world where that
many years later. I would many years later. not at first.
I don't know. Sony, a hardware company, if they could sell millions of their headsets into PC as well, why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I totally agree, because I think the big selling point isn't even going to be the hardware. It's going to be great for all of us waiting for the next gen of PlayStation VR, but I think the selling point is going to be the software. And I think that Sony is going to be the place, PlayStation 5 specifically, not PC, is going to be the place to be playing next gen games because of the ability to bring your game into VR with such ease.
Yeah.
Like we've been hearing over and over and over that you're going to be able to basically flip a switch to bring your game into VR and then obviously optimize after that. It just seems like that's not going to be happening on the PC side, and you're also not going to be getting brand new AAA original IPs from Sony on the PC side either, even if you have the headset over there, maybe here and there, right, to kind of co-market with your headset if you're selling it to PC gamers. But like PlayStation 5, as far as I'm concerned, it is the place where VR is happening.
Yeah, and I think we talked about Resident Evil 4 earlier. I know that we share this, Brian, but I won't play Resident Evil 8 until it's got VR support.
Same, yeah.
Same.
And I think that's where I literally think that's waiting for the technology to be there, and PSVR2 will probably have a VR version of that game. And I think there's lists of games. Gran Turismo 7. Obviously, Gran Turismo's done VR before, but the fidelity that PSVR2 will be able to add to that, the technology that they're putting into that stack will probably mean that we'll be just able to play it at the same resolution and it will look as good as the actual game does on a 4K monitor, and that'll be amazing, right? And we know that Sony has a strategy that is consistent with doing what Sony and Oculus are now doing, right? It's like port really good games that will work in VR, make them work in VR, and I think that every game should do that. I actually think that we've got to the point in terms of mass adoption that every game that can should.
Yep,
absolutely.
Period. And we've also crossed this line now, which is an interesting. We're obviously pioneering in terms of we've been around for a while into VR and we've lived with it, but we've got to the point where it's not just us that are saying, well, actually I'm not going to play Resident Evil 8 until it's got VR support. Forget it. It's not, and that's just that snowball is going, and I look forward to the day where there are more people demanding it than the 2D version. They're like, well, I don't want Horizon Zero Dawn, Ice, whatever, unless it's got VR support, and that is getting a bigger and bigger number, and at some point it cannot be ignored. And I don't know what that number is for each studio, but at some point you just cannot ignore it because there are too many people. It's like it's okay for people asking for haptic suit feedback or whatever, and it's 10% of your audience, but at some point it's 50%, and at that point you cannot ignore it because they will just, the internet being the internet, they will probably cause you review problems, if nothing else.
Jon, we're big on speculation over here. We like to talk about the future. We like to talk about PSVR2 a lot. I know some things. AJ knows some things. You know some things. We're all under various NDAs for different things. With all that in mind, what's your guess when we're going to see this thing? When are we going to see PSVR2? When's Sony going to have an event and show it all off to the world?
Well, I don't know. I don't know a date. That is absolute fact. I doubt Sony has said anything to anybody other than indicatively. I'd felt like March for a long period of time because a number of reasons, but I just think that's too soon, given especially COVID and all the chips. I think this is probably a holiday 2022 thing. I think
for a review,
that would for release. I think that's where I'd put my bet. I don't think they can wait that much longer. The acceleration in the VR, there's a terrifying speed of acceleration in VR. Let me bring up something that I was talking about the other day. There's a terrifying speed of acceleration with VR right now. We, all the time we've been here for this 7 years, we've seen VR getting better and better. But we've just got to the point where it's overcoming some of its big hurdles, and that is right now. So I think actually the longer Sony wait on this, the further they may fall behind. So I'm not sure what's going to go on this next period, because if they've not got micro LEDs, they're going to be behind. Because you know what I mean, it's like so they've got this own conundrum going on with the state of play in the market right now. So yeah, but I do think that there's key things that they probably are going to do, and there's key things that, you know, are required for the next round of VR that's happening as well. And there's some interesting things that I'm fascinated with reduction. I mean, we talked about VR sickness earlier. Fascinated with the reduction of VR sickness due to, you know, micro motors on the headsets and things like that. That's all really fascinating to me. And you know, it's, again, I think there's a lot of public stuff. The VR Singapore Journal or something, if you go and look it up, talks about that in depth, and so there's a lot of new things technology wise there as well that may come into play in the headsets and stuff. But fundamentally, yeah, I mean, it's time to get it out there, but I want to see it out there alongside good content. And when I look at PS5 as a whole, you know, if I just look at the games I've brought, it's been quite sparse, especially for the AAA. You know, it's taken a long time to play these games, and you know, you look at 2022. Well, there's one, I'm just looking at the monitor here. There's about 10 games. You know, there's like Dying Light 2 and Sifu, and you know, it's like we've heard about all these. You know, there's nothing particularly new there right now, right? These have been around for months, years, some of those, and you know, so I think it's time. They need good content to be alongside the headset. So there's two things that need to happen there. One is all of those games that we've just talked about, you know, Horizon Forbidden West, Saints Row update, and, you know, Dying Light 2. They just need VR support, right? Yeah. All of them. And then a whole bunch of VR games, but we know that can't all come from indies. No, it just can't all come from indies. And it can't come from Quest 2 ports anymore, because the fidelity of Quest 2 generally is less than PSVR2 will be capable of, so, and PS5. So they've got to be, you know, well-funded games. They've got to be conversion supports, and I know this stuff in, you know, I know colleagues of mine are working on things, and there is stuff coming, but you know, fact is it does need a line-up to launch, and March is too soon for that, in my opinion, as well. So that's why I'm thinking, you know, developers need at least a year to get good content there. And we need more time for more PS5 games to be out. Also, I don't think they'll muddy the water. I don't think they want to release Gran Turismo 7 with VR muddying all of that. They'll just want to release Gran Turismo 7, sell the bulk of them, and then at Christmas time say, well, there's VR support now, and sell lots of headsets on the back of that. That's how I would do it. I think that's how they'll end.
Interesting. That's it. Yeah, like, because in my head, as like, you know, purely PSVR or purely VR gamer, in my head, it's the opposite, right? It's like I want that to be a clear message from the get-go. Like, here's your game, and it has VR support, and bam, all in one package. And like, let's make it real simple. It's like you can do whatever you want, and like not have to say, here's your game, and then like 6 months later go, here's your game again. It's like you finally got the thing you wanted originally. But I can totally see from like a, you know, if you're $1 billion corporation,
I think they're just going to keep. We're going to keep them very, very separate, but the you know, the buzz for again, I'm not Sony, right? I know nothing here, right? But you know, they're going to want to focus on VR as a big deal, which means big titles, plenty of lineup, plus probably back catalogue, right? Or as much of it as they can get, right? So that looks like, you know, you know, buy this headset, you get all of these games upgraded, right? And here's this latest great, you know, here's GTA 5, here's Gran Turismo 7, here's Dying Light 2, here's Returnal, here's, you know, all of these amazing titles with VR patches, right? That's what, that, boom, right? It's like, you just, you know, and for those that haven't, you know, they're also probably thinking, well, we haven't sold enough PlayStation 5s, we need a round 2 of that, right? Because, you know, they haven't had enough chips, nobody's got enough chips, but that's solving itself. In 2022, that will solve itself. I mean, it's, you know, China is saying that already, but you know, the fact is that the new factories come online, that, you know, right? There are reasons, but the chip system starts to solve itself. So you can make a lot more, and, you know, it's in everybody's benefit when you have anything to do with technology to solve that problem, and believe me, they'll solve it. And that's going to change that world. You know, PlayStation 5s will become readily available in the shops. PlayStation, you know, same for Xbox Series X's and Quest 2s, and the list goes on. So I imagine that it's about buy a bit of time for all those reasons. But I'm honestly super stoked for them to be doing that type of stuff. You know, my wishes never really come totally to fruition there, but even if it was half of what I've just said, and there were 3 or 4 major titles releasing, and they were putting them out once every 3 months, more titles, and that was scaling out for big titles and indie stuff, and you know, pro indie type stuff as well, then that's all it needs really. Because I think, you know, I think the lifetime of the lifetime of PSVR2 is much stronger as well. Generally, I think that over PSVR1 they've learnt a lot, and PSVR2 will have a stronger lifetime. It'll last longer. I'm still playing on, you know, my index, which is now X years old, and it's fine. So it just needs to be at that level at least.
Some just want to get some final questions out there to you. We you know, just because you're a developer, and want to kind of hear your perspective on this. Do you think that Sony is going to be? Do you think it's going to be like a huge marketing push for PSVR 2? I feel like things have really quieted down quite a bit for the marketing standpoint in PSVR 1. Obviously, we think that's because, you know, you can at a certain point you can market as much as you want and not sell a single new headset. But do you think it's just going to be a whole marketing blitz? Do you think they're going to be sending teams out and helping developers? Like, how do you think they are 100% committed to VR?
We're still in a big problem with COVID. Let's be honest. You know, I went to EGX in London recently. There wasn't a single big player there in like what you would call their normal place, right? Yeah. You know, you go to EGX normally, you've got at least Microsoft attending, you've got Sony and showing some stuff off, and they've got stuff to show, right? They've got new headsets, loads of cool games. They've got stuff to show. We're not into a normal world yet, and I don't know whether that normal world's going to reappear. So everybody's readjusting everything, and I honestly think that, you know, they're going to want to sell as many pieces of PlayStation 5s and as many headsets as they can with really, really cool content. Otherwise, what they're doing, right? Because losing ground is the answer, because somebody else somewhere will pick up that work, right? Yeah. And they've got strong competition in this space, and honestly, Microsoft have never been stronger, right? Both of them have got problems producing hardware, but I tell you, the Microsoft lineup is pretty stellar, and they're buying stellar studios, right? They've got a proper threat happening over there. Mm-hmm. Microsoft Ultimate Pack is ultimately a really good deal for the consumer, right? You get an incredible, you know, Horizon 5 dropped free for anybody that had that, right? And that is one of the best games, you know, it's probably my game of 2021 because I like that type of game. But you know, these are big, strong games. You've got Halo Infinite coming out. You know, this is actually a real problem for Sony. So, you know, I am absolutely sure they're working on great games and great content. It takes time to make great games and great content, but they are going to have to work hard to retain their lead. If they slow down and they don't push the VR and they don't push the AAA content and they don't have good lineups, they've got competition that'll quite happily suck up all that work. And you know, Facebook and Meta are taking up the VR side. You've got PC VR happening over on Steam right now. Probably new entries from other people as well. And yeah, I would take it seriously if I were them. I would definitely be pushing their hardware and their unique USPs, which VR is definitely one.
Yeah, I think that's the game changer. I think absolutely moving into next gen. Like you look back, I can't believe it's been 5 years of PlayStation VR 1, and like where's Uncharted, where's Horizon, where's this? You know, where's Resistance, Killzone. I mean, you name a franchise, it's just not that hasn't made a VR presence yet, and so I think it would be in their best interest to like.
I am 99% sure that all of those titles you've just said would work well in VR, right? There isn't a title you've not just said that wouldn't work in VR.
Killzone 3 already has motion control support.
We're halfway there.
The next 2 years, to me, look like new headsets and AAA content pushing everybody over the ledge. Yeah. And that is going. I would say, you know, Sony need to do that. Oculus need to do that. It's exactly the same over at Steam, right? It's not gone away. VR has grown in strength and continues to grow in strength, right? Now it needs to get to the point where it is AAA quality fidelity. You know, all of the... I mean, honestly, I want to pull this thing out, just remind people, because it's that bragging hardware with me. right?
Breakout box, yeah.
Right?
Yep, it's a mess.
Okay, this is not good, right? And I know this has unique chips in it for audio, but it really needs to be at this level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so there's too much friction right now. And don't get me started with getting moves set up. I had to, you have to get wires out, plug them into pair, and it's just the whole process is quite painful. So to move to a single wire, automatically paired controllers through Bluetooth, it's going to be a revolution for that space in console in the lounge. It's got a wire, but fundamentally they may change that at some point. It may even launch a wireless. My hope is there that actually the technology with Wi-Fi 6G, all of that is a solved technology. It's been proven elsewhere, and maybe Sony are busy doing that, right? And maybe they can say, well, actually there is a wireless module, or maybe they can sell it wireless from day one because time's moved on and have managed to solve the problem, right? But even without wireless, wireless comes with other problems, right? Trees. So
Capacity,
personally,
battery storage into a small unit, that definitely
Yeah.
wireless is one of the things that needs a lot more time before it becomes a standard.
Right.
I think the one wire solution right now is the best option, obviously,
I
because
haven't got a problem with a wire. It's just a wire, right?
yeah, one
It's
wire.
it's not the end of the world. Would it be better without wire? Maybe. It's okay if it's got a wire, as long as it's not 7. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Right.
I mean, they're
and
so
taking off
focused.
USB on the front.
They're so focused on comfort, right? I mean, PSVR1, all these years later, is still the most comfortable VR headset, hands down. And now we know the PSVR2 is going to be lighter weight. It's going to be even more ergonomic. It's going to, and so the fact is you start messing with batteries and hard drives and everything else that would you'd require to shove into that headset to make it,
It's an early one. I've got labels on it and stuff. It's a dev kit, I think. It's showing its time now. Look, it's got bits of material there and whatever. But this to me, against any other headset, is still looking like an incredibly competing piece of hardware. Right? Got little bits of plastic wobbling off. Look, right? There's nothing wrong with Sony's engineering. I've got no doubt the hardware will be attractive, and frankly, it just needs to, upgrade itself, right, across the board. I've got no doubt that Sony's plans are solid. They would not do this unless they were going to make money out of it. Sell lots of headsets. They'll want to at least double, but quadruple what they sold before. I know their budgets are much higher. I know that they are. AAA is a target audience. It's all cool with me. It's all cool with me. I want Sony to succeed, and you think they've got all the. They haven't just said anything or done anything that makes me feel they won't. Yeah. Like you say, I think they're going to lead the way here, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
As you said, we were talking a little bit the other day. You said, as far as AAA is concerned, sort of the rising tide theory, right? It's like indie devs can do nothing but benefit from more people owning a VR headset that is a result of AAA developers making more people buy headsets. Like indie devs are going to really benefit from this, I think, all around.
Yeah. The more headsets that sell, the better, right? It's like it just rise that tide, and and it's not. Honestly, it's not just that. I think there's a good thing to show anybody good VR, right? If a AAA can come along and do something really wowing that blows people's minds, then that over time that cascades into the whole process, right? If one person's showing, look how amazing this is, and I've got loads of examples in VR where I've played other people's content and I've just been mind blown. But it's just like. There's one I've never seen it anywhere, but in a real world VR, room. It's like 40-foot wide by 20-foot wide. But there's this one bit where we sort of walked up a wall in VR. It's like you walk towards a wall, and the whole room you were walking up the wall like you got gravity boots on. The whole room walked with. I was just like. Okay, well, I haven't seen everything yet. Right? It's still on. It's like there's so much to still learn in VR, and so much coming, and that's without thinking about new technology that's really close now. Eye tracking is really, really close to being ubiquitous within headsets, and that will bring a whole new, from simple things like choosing menu items or whatever, but also a whole new, input into designing. obviously we talked about horror earlier. Very useful for horror because you know exactly where people are looking, not just roughly.
Yeah,
exactly. The doll can stare you back in the eyes. So it's quite exciting where we're going there.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Hey, listen, we got Joey Katz in the chat with $5 saying, I'm buying your game Friday. So that's one.
Awesome. Thank you.
9,999 more to go.
9,000. Yeah, exactly.
Stevie Dan, the solo game cat with the 2 quid, says John's love of VR is like Tarantino with movies.
Yeah, I'll take that. Although his later movies were questionable in places.
There's still time. It's VR's in its infancy.
Yeah,
you got at least 20, 30 years.
I genuinely do love VR, and I'm pleased whenever carrying on talk about it. It's a sad day if we ever stop talking about it. Because
you'll always have a place here,
dude,
where everybody knows your name.
Yeah,
we technically should have given up on PSVR years ago, but we're never.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of devs that don't want to move to VR, or like if I go and introduce myself, or somebody introduces, and says, "Oh, this is Jon, he makes with," sort of. There's quite a lot of devs that say, "Oh, I don't do VR." I don't ever see myself doing VR. So, it's still a very split world.
When they see, speaking of split, when they see that the that the PSVR2 controllers right now, we just call them the orbs. When they see that those are basically a dual shock, a dual sense, just split in half. I think they'll have a little bit easier time. It won't be such a dramatic change in a dual shock versus the new VR controllers, and then you just replace the sort of little some button inputs with actual physical grabbing or physical movements, and I think that'll make it a lot easier for people.
I think it's okay to also accept the world where both. There are some people that just don't like VR. It's too much.
True.
Yes. I mean, that's fine. I don't want to ignore 2D gaming. I can still quite happily play an FPS without VR. It's all right.
That's what my Switch is for. I don't want to be doing that on my flat screen TV. I'll lay in bed and play flat screen games on my Switch, just portable style. But man,
VR though. I mean, I had a cold the other day, and I wouldn't put a headset. I wouldn't be sneezing into a headset, and they can be hot. I know that's a problem that can be solved. So sometimes, if it's hot weather or whatever, putting a headset on is quite a thing. And honestly, you can see I've got a haptic suit behind me. Honestly, it can be quite a rigmarole, right? You've got to get it set up, Bluetooth it, put your headset on, strap in, make sure everything's configured all right. Something goes wrong, it's horrible, but got to make sure my things are it can be a rigmarole. So I get that there's quite a lot of friction there for some people, but ultimately VR is just better. You can take any game, put it in VR, and it's better as long as it's done well.
I mean, do you think so? Like you said, a lot of developers are just opposed to the idea, or maybe they're too small of a team to even consider saying, "Well, we need to add VR to support to our game," when they're trying to focus on the core release. Sony's kind of known for having teams that they send out to different developers and help them out. White Moon Dreams is obviously one of those teams that just seems to help everybody out on the face of the planet. Do you think this is going to be a thing they do with PSVR2, just to be like, "Hey guys, really, it's so much easier than you think it is"?
Well, I think that is now common. I mean, the Capcom didn't do the port of Resident Evil 4, right? A studio did with Sony, with Oculus Studios. I mean, it's its pro and con is VR is probably the most complicated thing you can do in terms of VR game design, right? It's like you can't skip a frame, right? And even in flat screen world today, you can skip a frame. You can get away with a certain amount, but good VR does not skip a frame. Right. Even in flat screen, you get. We talked about Forza Horizon 5. That is an example of a game that is very highly optimized at 60 frames per second, and it's a straight bar, right? And it's lauded for that because almost no other games do that level. It's like this is boring because it's just flat, right? But in VR, every game needs to be flat, right? Because if it's not, it's bad VR. And and VR design is a whole new paradigm. If you're used to 2D games, then try and do a menu design in VR, for instance. It's a whole new world of stuff to deal with. Not to mention, just basic interactions. So VR is quite strange, even from a developer's point of view, and quite hard. It isn't an easy challenge. I've lost sleep over the silliest of most complex things. It's like it's not as simple. I described Windlands 2's challenges bringing to PlayStation. You're pushing a lot of polygons at rate with VoIP engines and CPU processing for multiplayer. It's not a simple thing. It's the most complicated thing you could possibly want to do in it. So it puts a lot of people off as well. But also some people just, I don't know, for whatever reasons, they've had a bad experience in VR, and that puts them off VR for life. It's not easy to get them back once they've done that.
Yeah.
But then on the opposite side, somebody picks up VR for the first time, plays their favourite game, and just realises that why haven't I been playing this all of this time? What have I missed out on? Right. So I think there are more of those people every day, and age is also a benefit. My 7-year-olds ask me to go into VR. They'll say, "Daddy, can we go and play that game where you build stuff on a raft, please?" Or can we go? You know what I mean? It's like they actively want to go into VR. So, time itself makes us old gamers. And the new generation grows up with it, basically.
Yeah. Jon, I think it's time to play PSVR 20 questions, man. Don't get me wrong. I could sit here and talk about PSVR2 all day long, but it's already been all day long for you, man. I know that it's getting pretty late over there. And we don't want to keep you forever.
You just get me back on the show. I'm here whenever you want me. I love this. Well, I can talk about VR anytime.
We know that you haven't been working on the PSVR port of Windlands 2 for the last 3 years, so we know that you've been working on something new. And as soon as you're ready to announce that,
it's not today.
Yeah.
Not today.
Yeah, when you're ready, man. When you're ready, you got to come back here and talk all about it with us.
Honestly, I am so excited about future stuff. I can't even. I'm busting at the seams, but it's not for now.
Yes,
not for now.
Absolutely, man. We totally respect that and understand that. And dude, so I saw a lot of people in the chat, obviously people who were tipping, saying great things about you and saying that they love having you here and you're great, very enthusiastic about VR. Obviously we're still going to play 20 questions. Don't worry, guys. But I do want to kind of point out that Jon does his own podcast. You're the host of the Metaverse Show, right?
So yeah, we've done a few. Well, I would describe them as pilots. We've done 5 pilots, and at some point, I think we're going to do the next one, which is going to move homes a bit, which will be cool. But yeah, no, we're trying to. Ultimately, I do have these conversations with other devs and interesting people that have been on journeys, and they happen quite a lot, and I've never recorded any of them. It's like people are like, what? I've got so many stories. Honestly, I've got story after story of conversations with and I've just never recorded them. So it really came out of that. It's like, actually, we probably should be recording this stuff because there's too much. People would appreciate being at the table. Right. I love podcasts like you do, so I admire what you do and appreciate the consistency as well as being a friend at the end of an audio channel or video channel. So I super appreciate the work you do, guys. So yeah, congratulations for running for so long. I was said earlier, like OG in this space, and keep it up. You really appreciate it because we all need friends sometimes. But if you're into something like VR, it's nice to be, even if you can't input much more than text, it's nice to listen and to feel like you're with your friends at the pub or whatever. So that's what made me start that, just because I enjoy it too. I want to share those stories.
Well, make sure you go follow Jon over there, the Metaverse Show, because who knows, man, maybe one of your 2 favorite PSVR without Parole hosts will make an appearance over there at some point.
It's happening. It is happening. Don't happening.
Yeah,
it's so happening.
Diz the Game Cat with $5 tip says thoughts and prayers to everyone affected by the Christmas parade tragedy in my hometown. Thoughts and prayers go out to everyone in that area. Man, yes. I'm so removed from the world. Yeah, sorry to hear about the tragedy.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's finish this off with a little game of PSVR 20 questions. Jon is the host of 20 questions this week, and he's already thought of a PSVR game, and we are putting 6 minutes up on the clock. And AJ and I
minutes.
Yeah, man, we don't mess around because we found that when you give us unlimited amount of time to ask 20 questions, we use all of that unlimited amount of time to ask 20 questions.
And it's a lot of time.
That's a little bit of pressure.
Sounds like a lot of questions for me. All right, okay, fine. Well, I have thought of something.
All right,
We'll see how this goes.
Help us out in the chat, guys. We're going to need all of the assistance we can possibly use. 6 minutes up on the clock. AJ, kick it off.
All right. Does it have move controller support?
Oh, no.
No moves.
No moves. Damn, I'm betting that kind of eliminates... That doesn't eliminate aim controllers, because usually aim games are aim or DualShock. Does it have aim support?
No.
No moves, no aim. Okay.
I think I know the answer.
You're just filtering a spreadsheet right now.
You already know the answer, AJ? Come on.
No. I think I know the answer to the question I'm about to ask. Did you work on this game at all?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Man, that feels like a waste of a question, AJ.
Crystal Rift would have been a good deep cut, though.
That
would have been a deep cut.
I like that game, man, more than I should, I think. Oh, anyway, back on topic.
It's my first VR game. I mean, it's like, I'm proud of it.
It's good, man.
I completed it, and on PlayStation.
It's fun.
Can't be unproud of that.
Does it have? Is it scary at all?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good question. Yes.
Yes, it is scary. Okay.
You can carry on knocking the filters down now. How many questions are you up to? I think I got down to. I think we're on our fifth.
That's 4. We're on 5.
Okay.
We're on the 5th question.
All right, so guys, think of a somewhat spooky DualShock 4 only game. AJ, what do you got?
Oh. Is it a spooky DualShock 4 only game? Is it made by Capcom?
Yes.
Oh man, that's where I was going too with this, and I saw some cats in the chat saying it was probably RE7 as well. Let's just get it right out there in the open.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna ask one more question. Do you play as Ethan in the Baker estate in this game?
No.
Is
you
that
say
true?
no?
I think I've said no. Yeah.
Has Capcom made any other VR games on PSVR? Now you got me questioning. I don't think they have. Is it a Resident Evil game?
I can honestly say yes, so I'm going to say no.
Okay, chat's gonna help us out now.
I'm so confused.
I'm on the fence about that question. I genuinely am on the question.
Is it a demo?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh
this could be the
man,
kitchen demo then, right?
Holy crap, man!
Hey!
Oh, it is
demo.
the kitchen demo.
The kitchen demo. 9
Wow,
questions.
that was good. That was a good trick question right there.
That was
good.
I thought of it because it was genuinely, it was my first PSVR ever demo. I was ushered into a back room at Sony. We're going to show you PSVR. It was just way before it was announced or whatever, and the guy, it's in a dark room, and the guy, like, I don't know what I'm going to get, never know what I'm going to get, and that's Unreal, right? And he sort of pulls this stuff out, puts it on my head, gives me a DualShock controller, and this I'm tied to a chair, not even a DualShock controller, and this thing's stabbing me in the eye, and it's just horrible. It's the first. So, I mean, the guy who was doing the demo, I've done so many demos, and it's the one thing that makes me laugh is that in early VR demos, when somebody's never seen VR before, they sort of submit completely to the process. Like, I mean, not just like, I'm here, I'm ready to play, they just like, I'm here, whatever you say I'm going to do. Right? Whatever you say. You can tell me to do anything, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Stand on one leg, I'm going to do it. Right? Put your arms out wide, your star shape, jump up and down 3 times, I'm going to do it, right? So it always makes me laugh, right? That I find myself in those same scenarios sometimes, so I'm giggling from the inside out. It's like, new piece of hardware. I remember being shown the Valve came across the UK, dev only invite, showing the Vive pre-pre, really early one. Really exclusive group of people. It was only people that already have VR games on. It's not a very big number in the UK, right? So they sort of drag you into this back room, bit of an interview, met Chuck Falsack and some of the other people, you know, really, really, really cool stuff. While I was sat there, the BBC came in and got turned away at the door. You know what I mean? It was like proper exclusive stuff. But again, you know, I'm just recalling, I got took in this back room, there's a headset in the middle of the floor, no idea what to expect, and they sort of put this on you know, and I was just like completely submit, right? Whatever you want, Valve. Whatever you want, just do it. Whatever it is. Oh, we got this giant probe, John. It's going in your ear. It's like I would have done anything. Right, but yeah, it's. I just remember very, very distinctively with Kitchen, sort of putting me on this table, and then I'm waking up in VR with my hands tied, being attacked by this murderer in a kitchen. Like, if that's not enough to put you on, I'm sorry, Sony. I'm not ever developing for your system. It's just horrible. You know, it's like. But yeah, I keep thinking back to that day sometimes and thinking the person doing the demoing knew what they were doing, because that was their most fun part of their job, especially that day.
I bet.
Jon, thank you so much. Where can people follow you? Where should they follow you? Give us all your socials, man.
Well, Hibbins, just at Hibbins, Hibbins. That's my Twitter, and I look there.
Nice. Dude,
Excellent.
Windlands 2 coming out this Friday. $30, is that confirmed?
Woo!
Oh gosh, that's a whole story in itself. I think so. Yes.
So, all right. We'll see.
We set the price of the actual price. We set the RRP. You know, it's like, but yes, it should be around that amount of money. I didn't even ask you guys. Are you going to review it, or are you just was that it? It's just like.
Yeah,
we played it for 7 hours, John. I'm not going to speak about that anymore.
This was it, man. This was it. This is all the PR you get, man. No, dude, absolutely.
I'm okay with that. The PR. I genuinely want to know what happened. Did you get stuck? Did you take all the bosses down in one go?
I mean,
we got through it pretty well. It was challenging. It was a lot of fun. I think we're we have a official review coming out when the embargo lifts on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
No, it's not really embargoed. I've been careful. There's a mixed bag on embargoes nowadays. Some people like them, some people don't. I think devs like them because it's a lot of noise in one go. But I think generally there's all this algorithm and who's fighting who and beating who to market and stuff, and I think content creators don't like all that.
Well,
I really enjoy
like embargoes,
yeah,
right, because I want to make sure that we've all got the game ahead of time, and then like we've got a date that to kind of I'm a deadline person. If it wasn't for deadlines, I'd get nothing done, and embargoes to me are deadlines.
I've asked everybody to sort of hold it till Friday, but that's not strict. You can talk about it if you want to talk about it.
Well, I will say I did really enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great multiplayer game, which we need a lot more of.
Yeah.
And I love the challenge and the platforming and the action that it has. But I don't recommend you play it 7 hours from start to finish.
No.
I recommend you play it. And I recommend maybe an hour.
Oh God, I can't. The monster's going. There's another homing missile. Oh, gone.
It is sort of broken up well into sections, and so if you kind of get in there and you blast through one section at a time with friends, I think you're gonna have a really good time. I do think co-op is also the way to play this game. I did get in there for 90 minutes on my own and played it by myself, and I was like, this is cool. And then as soon as I had 3 friends to play with, I was like, this is really cool. This is way more fun. This is how I want to get through the entire campaign for sure.
Yeah, in dev, we used to hold our meetings in the game because it got voice over IP and you could see each other and express, and we used to just hold all our meetings in the game and hang out. And it's just like I'm going to use the word metaverse, but it's like a little metaverse part of the world where you can actually just hang out in, right? You just go and do some racing or just sit around the campfire. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, we used to actually hang out in the game a lot because it's quite a nice place to be.
Yeah. And we were exhausted by the end of it, but I actually found myself wanting to go back into it and play some single player. I haven't experienced a single player yet.
The races.
While we were
the races
while we were playing through the game, I was, we were just doing the main story. And I was like, woof, 7 hours, that was a lot. I was actually feeling like the need. There is something addicting about all those little secrets that I saw that I passed by, and now I know where they are. And now I think also you get better at the game. You get, once you get better at the game and really get accustomed to the controls and the layout of things, I think there is something like, oh, it's not so bad. It takes a while to get there, but then you're like, oh, that doesn't actually, that seems very obtainable now. So I definitely want to go back, try the races, try lots more things, and can't wait to check those out.
I'm so stoked you guys liked it. Makes me very proud.
I really did.
Yeah, and I barely even touched the challenges yet. So I mean, I know that's like a whole nother section of.
Well, I don't think they go live until Friday. The pre keys don't allow you to do. There's something about pre-viewing and going live on the date or something that puts the leaderboards and stuff live. So I think you can still do it, but you're technically playing on like a pre-production service.
Okay. In
preview, and then when it goes live on Friday, all the live servers go live, and you get all the leaderboards and stuff. So you can race, but any times you log won't be live.
Okay.
On the actual. I think that's how don't quote me there. Sony's system is quite complicated. I think that's the way it works. Then.
Yeah, I'm still gonna
but yeah, there's leaderboards for the races.
I'll definitely have to play them in order to for the review, obviously. But yeah, man, definitely. For anyone out there who's curious about diving deeper into this game and figuring out if it's for them or not, obviously I'll have a review ready for later in the week, and certainly be doing a live stream of it. And as long as John here doesn't care about, I was going to hold off until Friday when the game came out to stream it. But as long as you don't care, John, I will certainly get in there and stream it during the week prior to release.
Any noise we can make right now is going to be positive for us. I mean, fundamentally, anything that helps us make our next games is a good thing right now because we want to make that our next stuff. So, and we're excited about that stuff.
Physical edition with perp games too, guys. Don't remember.
We've got to give it away. Right, how are we going to give it away?
I don't know, man. Pick a name. Pick a name from the list.
Well, I haven't looked at the chat. So the last person who posted called Steve. How about that? I don't know.
I think that's
Steve IRE.
Steve, possibly Steve.
I'm scrolling back, looking for somebody named Steve in the chat. Oh,
Steve IRE. Yep. Steve IRE, you've won this copy. You'll have to get me a copy, your address and stuff. It was completely random, that, by the way. It's just came into my head. I don't know why. Something to do with Minecraft.
Steve, if you're not on our Discord, man, get on there and make sure you send us your.
And he said Kitchen is still effective demo of newcomers. He was listening. I'll take that, Steve. You deserve it for being an engaged party, and I'm sorry that nobody else could win. But Steve took it today.
John, thanks so much for hanging out with us for the last hour and a half or so, man. It was really interesting to hear you talk about being a developer, being a VR developer, and obviously, like I said, man, you're always welcome back on the show. And anytime you get something,
anytime, just. Exactly. I'll be back, and I look forward to having you on my show too. And it's been great hanging out with you guys.
Awesome, John. Do me a favor and say, "Cue the cat."
Cue the cat.
Cue the cat, Brian, because I want to say, see you guys Wednesday to Magic the Game Cat. Thank you for watching. Ian Stambridge. He says, if only I was called Steve. Alberto, the Game Gato. Mark Smith says, way to go, Steve. Twitch the single player game cat. Says, I'm Steve, and so's my wife. Lots of Steves coming out of the woodworks now.
Yeah.
Steve IRE, congrats on winning the copy. I think he's in Ireland, so
that's what IRE stands for. Yeah,
cost less to ship right there. Save that international shipping. Guy Sunfist spoke to you. Dave Station VR in the house tonight. What is up, homie? Mark Smith, Distracted Game Cat. Johnny Moles, what's up, dude? Justin Cassidy, Dark Angel, Brax Bro, Genetic Blasphemy, the Reverse Engineer, Game Cat says cat. All you are is history. Happy birthday, Q. Is it Q's birthday? It's out every day is Q's birthday. It comes 3 days a week. Cerebral Frost, thank you so much for tuning in today. And look forward to the top two. Shades of Gray Matter, Thank you, man. Funkadelic Game Cat. Keep it funky fresh, my friend. Stevie Dan Solo, the Solo Game Cat. Sorry, man. There could only be one Steve today. But you came this close. You were like, you had a 50% chance of winning that, Stevie. I was honestly kind of rooting for you. Maybe next time. Blue Chew, the Underground Game Cat. Elite Name Squad in the house. Hack the Game Cat. I knew it was lit up in here. Hugh Guyver, shout out to your cousin Mac. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who is your Jeremy the NES rookie.
Yeah.
Delirium Drew VR, good to see you. Jazzy J, the Terra Mage Game Cat. Guys, see you Wednesday. See you. Make sure you check out Windlands 2. Don't miss
Friday.
out. And Windlands 1. Windlands 1 is
Also
aged
Windlands
gracefully.
1. Yeah.
Yes. And if you're a dungeon crawler, Crystal Rift. Old school right there. Good stuff.
Proper old school.
See you guys there. See you guys Wednesday.